But Mr. Chukwu, talking about the issue of investment, foreign investment, most of these foreigners come in, and the top echelon are their own people. They have Nigerians only working, most of them, on the factory floor.
Well, the way you look at it is this: a lot of if we have to scale up our technological base, a lot of companies that will come, we have to come with the labor because we don't have it. And ultimately, you're going to see the transfer of skills and competence to Nigerians. And I'll give you a classical example.
So you're identifying capacity issue as part of our problem?
Yeah, well, there are several problems, one of which is the quality of labor, issue of skills, issue of infrastructure, like he did mention earlier. You see, we have to look at those things that improve, that will help us improve on our competitiveness. Your country must be competitive beyond the issue of size. The size is good. The potentials, it gives you potential, huge local demand, which is attractive to any investor. And one of the areas in Nigeria rank high in terms of economic competitiveness is in terms of local demand. But you have to also address the other bottlenecks, issue of infrastructure base, like mention of power. Power must be available and at affordable prices. You have to talk of the issue of transport infrastructure. You have to talk of the issue of the legal framework, issue of contract enforcement. Then you have to look at the issue of quality of labor and availability, competence, the labor laws. One of the things that's making South Africa, for instance, less competitive is because of the stringent labor laws. So you have to look at several factors, those factors that impact on the ease of doing business. We need to address them to begin to trap the benefits of the huge GDP base. But that notwithstanding, Nigeria has now standing in a position where the whole world, the whole investment world, everybody who is interested in tapping into the benefit, the growth in Africa, but we cannot afford to ignore Nigeria.
You still haven't told me why the messenger sitting in his house watching this program now should be saying hallelujah.
No, the messenger,
because our economy has been rebased.
See, the messenger cannot say hallelujah immediately because, like I said, what we just did, we woke up, recomputed the actual level of economic activities. It does not transfer any kobo to the man on the street. It doesn't improve anybody's take-home pay.
Okay.
But I said in the long run, this should make Nigeria an investment destination. And that is only when the common man on the street will begin to appropriate the benefit of the growth in the economy. We have to address certain structural challenges. But today, it does not make anybody to wake up and instead of your income of $2,000, 2,000 naira becomes 2,500 naira. It doesn't. But in the long run, the opportunities that the economy has become transparent, apparent to everybody, and I think it will attract foreign direct investors, and that will create the jobs we are looking for. But we must do other things to make the Nigerian economy very, very investment friendly.
Okay, Mr. Ebzara, you wanted to say something about what he just said.
First and foremost, foreign direct investment is not dependent on the size of an economy. Neither is it dependent on the growth rate of an economy. It's dependent on the reward, risk, and challenges. So if a foreign investor wants to invest in Nigeria, he does not look at
how big the
GDP.
Economy is.
Yes, he looks at the rewards, the return on investment, the risks associated with such return on investment. And then he looks at the challenges of doing business in that country. When he considers this positive, he invests. But there are problems I always ask. Why should we continue to lie to ourselves and believe one day we solve the problem? China, before it opened up, closed its borders. The only way Nigeria can create jobs, the only way Nigeria can become an industrial economy, the only way Nigeria can develop is to exit WTO. I continue saying this. If we don't exit WTO, let us have some difficult system that will allow high tariffs, invisible tariffs, so that those people that are dumping goods in Nigeria will find it more expensive to just ship their goods to Nigeria and find it more attractive to come to Nigeria to produce these goods, because Nigeria has 170 million consumer market. Now, but you are talking about fiscal policy. We have not talked about monetary policy, because monetary policy is as important as the fiscal policy. Now, the interest rate in Nigeria is cutthroat interest rate. Nigeria interest rate is not less than, officially it's 12%, but it's not less than 25%. Now, in China, interest rate is about 2%. In the United States, it's about 0.5%. In even South Africa, it is 5%. So who will do that business? Will go and borrow money at such high interest rates, and then come and produce power, and come and bribe his way through all the processes, especially when the borders are open for the person to dump the goods. Do you understand? Without paying serious tariffs. Do you understand what I mean? So that is the challenge this country has. Unless we address the fundamental economic problems, we continue speaking grammar. And it pains me that we continue speaking grammar. Look, when I went to school to study, I went beyond grammar because I saw the truth that the teachers will teach you what they know because they're never in the field. But when you go to the field, you see the realities. What I'm talking today is not what I learned at MIT. It is what I saw on the ground in Nigeria, which if I bring my professors here, they will not understand even the complexity of what we are talking about. Because they are not, you see, no, when you go to Rome, you behave like Romans. These people they don't understand Nigerian economics because it's not important to them. Just like you are asking me about Togo economics. I won't, first of all, it's not important to me because of what use is it to me. So we must address these problems. You understand? We must address this problem. Now, there's the issue here is here, which is that the common man on the street, maybe in future he sees something. Actually, then we ask ourselves, what is the meaning of rebasing? Rebasing is actually for government to have a clear picture of the size of the economy and the quality, and that's when you say now quality and quantity of the economy, if I use that word, but to be able to know those sectors that if we start investing in those sectors, making policies towards those sectors will move up. But the problem is that the sector that move up the economy are being the ones suppressed, and government is not telling us, look, since these sectors are suppressed, we are going to do so and so. Because I was expecting the minister to say, oh my God, Nigerian debt to GDP ratio is the lowest in the world, in the modern world. We must drag it up. We must drag it up because it gives you ability to borrow.
She is saying, sorry to interject, she is saying that it is not a good enough reason to say that because it's the lowest in the world, now we have a right and we have a duty to go out and borrow.
No, I don't understand the...
No, what she's saying, what the Minister
she said Nigeria
of
had been
Finance,
delinquent in the past, so
yes,
she will have to be very careful.
Very careful, and it does not mean that we should now go and borrow as much as possible.
Let me ask you, who is the most indebted Africa, if not Dangote? When you trust your business, you must borrow. Because you must borrow to expand that business. But when you don't trust your business, you stay as you are because you are afraid of the future. I think what we are doing, we are afraid of the future of this country. So those leading this country do not believe in the future of this country. That's why they cannot borrow, because they don't believe that the risks and the reward can be narrowed. So the question is, how else do we solve power problem? I will assure you, until you and I die, we will continue talking about power because we have not actually want to solve the problem. We can borrow on... Nigeria today is one of the most credit-worthy nations. So we can borrow, if not that, our natural resource like oil, we can borrow on it. For God's sake. We are not going to ask for cash. We say, okay, we want to borrow. Now we have $500 billion GDP. We can borrow because America is 106. That is the debt to GDP is 106. Countries like Brazil, 68. No, so why can't we go and borrow half of our GDP now? How do we do that? We can say we have oil, 45 billion barrels of oil. We use 5 billion as collateral, as strategic collateral, which means we are not handing it out. But we say, if we default, you take it. And then we go to countries like China that are $3.7 trillion reserve. They have not utilized it. Say, look, lend us half a $250 billion. We put it in a special account. Now we say, to produce 100,000 megawatts in this country will cost us this. We look for companies all over the world that can produce better, efficient power. Not just gas, because gas can be sabotaged. We have dams. We can also use solar. We can also use wind. We can also use nuclear. There are so many. You have to diversify your power portfolio. Now, these people will come because they have seen the money somewhere. They will come and do these things we pay. Government will now hand some of those power plants to some individuals that will now be responsible for paying rent to government. That's the only way we can solve this. As soon as we solve power problem, let me tell you, if we solve power problem, and then because this economy is illiquid. People don't know this economy is illiquid. Why people think it's illiquid? Because those people in the financial sector, including him, they are the beneficiaries. Because we are paying them. This year, we're going to pay 712 billion naira, which is 30% of our budget, to service debt. Which country, then, it is half of the money for capital expenditure. Because capital expenditure this year is 1.1 trillion. Even last year was 1.7. But we're going down. So we're becoming pro-austerity. We're doing pro-austerity budget. So how do you expect the economy with illiquid economy to grow? In 1933, when American economy was in crisis, what did Roosevelt do? He came in, he discovered that there was illiquid, the economy was illiquid. He printed hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars and flooded the system with that.